All right, guys. Well, today we have a special treat. We have Jerod Mund. He's the founder of Rift Title. He is a real estate guru. He's been in the business forever. Just kidding, not forever. But he's based out of Fort Worth, and I thought it'd be awesome to have him on the show today because we are always talking about how to be progressive with technology and just different things in the real estate market. And they're doing some really cool things with the company that he founded. So I wanted to bring him on the show. So thanks, Jerod, for being here today.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you, Stephanie, for having me.
Absolutely. So before we dive into some of the fun details about what you guys are doing to change the title world, which I know if we're listening to this, it's like, man, this is such a sexy topic. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the business, where you're at today, and then we'll kind of get into some of the fun details that you guys are doing to help people in this tech world of title.
Sure. Yeah, got in the business years ago in commercial real estate, and I was always a tech savvy guy, so I love the tech world and I loved real estate too. So combining the two just seemed kind of natural. And so I always saw in the title space is I thought that was a good area that I could add a lot of value to.
What do you mean? The paper signing, the wet signing wasn't like good enough for you?
Yeah. I mean, it was always frustrating for me because, you see documents just signed over and over again, and you got to write your name and address, 10, 20 different times, stuff like that always really irked me. I always thought I could do a better job as far as just making it easier on people and making their lives easier when it came to the title process. So that was kind of the idea and where it started. And then we just kind of took it and ran with it and, saw what areas we could really kind of hone in on and just make people's lives easier is the whole idea.
All right. So level set with us just for a second. What does the normal landscape of title look like, right? Like in real estate transactions, this is what we mean as far as like when buyers are going to close, not necessarily the stuff prior to closing, correct? We're focusing more on like the closing process.
Oh no, this is the whole process.
Okay. So give it to me. How does it normally go? And then and then tell us how you guys have changed things.
Yeah, sure. So, normally you would, you get a contract and the contract goes back and forth. Everybody's using DocuSign and stuff like that now. So it does make it a little easier. And then you gotta figure out, what to do with the earnest money checks. Somebody's got to run that somewhere.
I know. Can't we? I'm like, guys, why can't we PayPal or Venmo this? Like, this is so ridiculous. You're actually having to drive to the freaking office. If I have a listing in South Fort Worth, they have to drive to Frisco.
Absolutely.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, so
we have a process. We have a FedEx process, but yeah, it's
you FedEx it and it's still
we have a workaround, but still, yeah.
So I guess we could start off just talking about that, and yes. So we've developed a contract generator just to make easily formable, easily inputted fields to make contracts easier. First off,
okay,
and then we have mobile deposit, so you can just mobile deposit checks right to us. So we'll have that all set up. You can't do things like Venmo, ACH in Texas right now because of TDI regulations. They love their audit trails, and so some other states that is available where you can ACH earnest money. You can't do that in Texas, so okay. We're stuck with mobile deposit, which is fine.
Yeah, that's like what we do with our banks right now, right? Where you just take a picture and okay.
Take a picture of the check. So, instead of running across town, now what you're doing is you're just taking a picture of your check. It goes right to us.
Love it.
It makes people's lives a lot easier just in doing those things.
So real quick, let me stop you. Is that like a proprietary technology or how did you guys come across that?
It's not proprietary. I guess the proprietary thing is I could get into the history of it, which was actually developed by a company called MyTech by USAA actually.
Okay.
And then all these other banks that started using it actually were they were using it illegally. And so there's big lawsuits that have gone around for the last couple of years. And I think they finally settled all that stuff. But it got kind of crazy there for a while.
Interesting. And so we've got builder partners listening, maybe management teams. We've got real estate agents listening. So this would be good for anybody that's looking to maybe decrease the amount of paper checks they're having to process, the time involved, all that kind of stuff. So, okay. So keep going. I interrupted you. I apologize.
Yes. So we've got a desktop app that we're launching and a mobile app. So the idea behind that is, everybody's getting all the information they needed, and nobody's left into the dark. Communication simple. All the stuff that you may be like calling to usually ask the title company about, that goes directly to you automatically.
Okay.
And then if there is questions, we have a little chat set up to where you can just ask a quick question real quick. It goes right to a title professional. Okay. So, things like the seller's packet, for instance, I mean, that comes up as an action item, on our app. So as soon as there's a requirement for it, the seller sees that, hey, this needs to be done. It's so much easier for them than your typical seller's packet where you've got all these documents, you got to print them off, you got to sign each one. Like I said, fill out your address on each one. It's just all easy and ready to go, just in a nice little inputable form, just either on their desktop or even on their phone. Okay. So it's so much simpler than the old way of doing things.
So what are you seeing as far as adoption from the standpoint of, are you guys rolling this out and consulting with other companies, or are you just doing this in-house and trying to grow your own client base? What are you guys doing with all this technology?
Yeah, sure. So I didn't want to really get into the software as a service type business. I wasn't looking to do that.
I used to sell technology, so I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't want to go there.
I'm back in real estate.
Right. I mean, I wanted to just get something that I was working with the end user on. And so we're just making the best product for the end user and really getting the feedback from them and adjusting as we went along. Okay. So I really like the idea of doing that. And so, there's going to be a slow rollout process here. So, we'll start off, obviously you got to go through a beta period. So we're still, the next couple of weeks, we'll go through that beta period and kind of work through the kinks on stuff, and then really kind of, tweak this as we go along to get something that's really just going to be an awesome product.
Awesome. So you've got kind of an end-to-end solution in the sense of you've got the contract and earnest money receipt process going. Talk to me about closing, because that's sometimes a kicker if you've got, people that live far away, depending on where they're buying and where they live currently, or schedules, or I don't know if you're experiencing this right now. I mean, this is June 2020. So we're still experiencing some stuff with COVID as far as closings seem to be getting pushed at the last minute more often, even if the loans aren't bad, they're just delaying. I think part of it's because a lot of lenders are being overwhelmed with refis. And I feel like you can tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like they're prioritizing the refis over the new contracts because they're probably locking rates in and they're needing to close them. So they're not paying extra points if the rates move. And as a result, we had 7 closings supposed to happen last week and 5 of them got pushed. And they're not bad loans. It's just the lenders didn't have stuff done.
Yeah, no, we're seeing the exact same thing.
And then people are taking off work because they thought they were closing, and then they're going to have to take off work again. And it's just kind of a mess. So talk to me about that, how you guys are simplifying that process.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are so busy right now. And I get, I feel bad for them in some respects, but they're just going crazy and they're just trying to strike while the iron's hot. And, sometimes you end up in these situations where they're just doing stuff at the last minute, just trying to scramble and get stuff done. And I'm seeing that over and over and over again with almost all the lenders. And it does have to do with the refis. Because, I mean, you're at record low mortgage interest rates. And so it's just going nuts right now as far as all that's concerned. So the purchases kind of get kicked back, and with these guys, eventually it'll, they got a lot of refis right now. It's going to go back to a lot of purchases. And so they got to make sure everybody's happy. But, as far as on our side for what we're doing and where we're trying to go with things, we eventually want to get to where we can do a closing on a loan, completely virtual. Okay. But right now you can't, and that has more to do with the lenders than it does us. But we'll be there in a couple years where everybody is doing that, and it's not quite there yet, though. And there's been some lenders that are on board with it, some lenders that aren't, and the ones that are not on board with it right now, they're just kind of looking at these other guys to see, to let them make the mistakes first, and then we'll jump in and do it. And so that's what's going on, and that's only the buyer's side, though. The seller's side, we can do e-closings all day long. Okay, so no big deal. We can do it. We can just close you on a beach in the Caribbean on your property in Texas.
So tell me why it's different from a buyer based on which side. Is it from a security standpoint, like a fraud? They're worried about fraud, or tell me how that's different.
Yeah. So here it is. Everything's got to be traceable all the way to the end investor. On the security instrument. So it's got to go from this party to this party to this party, and everybody's got to be comfortable that this was a good transaction that took place.
Okay.
And so there's also some regulations involved that kind of need to be adjusted to where people feel comfortable that it can get from here to here. Mm-hmm. And honestly, my own take on it is that, you've got a process of verifying that person is who they say they are that's actually better with these e-closings than you do in a typical closing where somebody shows up, because you've got ID verification, you've got facial recognition, you've got a set of questions that are asked to verify that person is who they say they are. You've seen the questions like, what was your address when you were in third grade and stuff like that. Those verifying questions. You don't get that with somebody that just shows up to a close and shows you their ID, which could have been a fake ID. They're just showing the notary that, and that's it. So in my opinion, it's actually a much better process with the verification than we had previously.
Interesting. So tell me why it's okay to e-close sellers right now, but not buyers.
Well, because of the loans, simply the loans. So if it's a cash deal, you can do the buyers. You can do the buyers and the sellers, and you can do a complete.
It's the investors that are backing the loan for the buyer that aren't comfortable with it.
Yeah, all the way to your Fannie Mae's and your Freddie Mac's. And
got it.
So they've got Ginnie Mae. So you've got to, it's got to go all the way to them, and how regulators are.
Yep.
And laws being changed and stuff. It's just a very slow process. So, but they are on board with it. They've got some committees that are really looking into how to do this and how to do it right. As we speak. So, and they're making a lot of progress really fast. So
that's awesome. So is Texas, because you guys are based out of Texas in Fort Worth, is Texas, tell me where we're at as far as compared to the rest of the country. Are we kind of in the middle? Are we lagging? Are we on the front end of this?
Well, as far as e-closings, I'd say we're more advanced than most. We were one of the first states to go ahead and authorize e-closings.
Okay.
It was Virginia, from what I remember, was the first state to actually go full force with it.
Interesting.
And so you look and you see a lot of the companies that do e-notaries and stuff, a lot of them are out of Virginia. And so, but they can actually close a property in Texas, this notary that's in Virginia, and it's not a big deal.
Right. Yeah, like when I used to sell new construction homes, if we had like a reload buyer or something, a lot of times we just FedEx docs to them, right? And they would sign them and send them back. But they had to go do that in front of a notary. They had to verify their identification, all that. So this just sounds like it's another step in that direction to where, it can be more flexible depending on where the buyers and sellers are located.
Yeah, sure. They just get on a little web chat just like this. They look at the documents. They, click their name for the signature a couple different times. You can explain what the documents are right there in front of them. It's a very simple process to how we used to do things. So.
Yeah, and we kill a lot less trees now, right?
Yeah, kill less trees. That's exactly right.
So anything else new? What are you seeing in real estate with it being, like we talked about earlier, it's June 2020. We've been rocking and rolling even with COVID and some of the other things
Sure.
going on, especially with the lower interest rates. But anything else that you guys are seeing trends in as far as real estate, just business in general?
Uh, Lots and lots of refis,
Yeah.
and that's something else that we're actually kind of trying to integrate this with, as far as the tracking with the refis, and have the app and everything where the borrower can actually follow the process along, and that's just not something that's very typical of this and how refis are done. So that's something we'll be working toward in the future. But yeah, as far as the market goes, just I mean, wow, so many refis.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a ton. I mean, I think the rates 2.75, 3, maybe lower
Yeah.
depending on the day and your credit and all that. Um, so as far as just in general with people closing, what else are you seeing on the forefront? Is it when we talk about like the mobile deposits, you can't pay earnest or option money with a credit card, correct? It has to go through a bank.
Yeah, it's got to go through. It's got to be good funds. It's got to be legal good funds. So it's got to be and cashier's check, or it's got to be a wire.
So
So
what stops it from just being like a debit card or them being able to just transfer that information like through a Square? You know what I mean? Like why couldn't there
Yeah, no, I
a
got you.
debit card and do a
Yeah.
Square thing and transfer it over to the? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's just not considered good funds. I mean, that's the easy answer.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay. Cool.
But technically, we can accept cash, but it's just the process of a title company actually accepting cash is just such a pain that the internal policies of most title companies just won't do it.
Got it. Okay. So they're just trying to stay in compliance with everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So anything else that you want to talk about that you guys are doing to kind of bridge the technology gap in real estate? Because I know it's probably one industries that hasn't really progressed over the last
Yeah.
couple of decades as a lot of the others have. So we're catching up quite a bit in the last 5
Sure.
years.
Sure. I always thought it was one of the more antiquated spaces, and that's kind of why I'm here. But I mean, just things like we're going to have so many just neat little features. It's hard to kind of hit every single one of them. But I mean, I like the idea if we've got action items on it. So if something needs to happen, it just doesn't sit around. I mean, it actually comes up on your phone as hey buddy, you need to take care of this, and it's the app actually makes it easier to do that. Whether if it's just a document that needs to be digitally signed real quick, or it's an invoice or something that maybe we just need a picture of. You can actually do that right from the app on your phone. Just real quick picture of it goes right to us, and then it's done.
So it sounds like you guys are basically creating. I mean, we talked about the end-to-end process earlier, but real estate has historically been very fragmented, right? So everything's in a silo separately. So if you have the loan officer, you've got the title company, nobody talks to each other, nobody's systems talk to each other. So it sounds like you're really trying to create something where it helps fix that to where as the process goes through, the clients are in the loop, whoever's involved in getting the loan and the title. So are you looping the lenders into your process as well as the agents, or are you just keeping it with the title company?
We're going to start off with the agents and the buyers and sellers, and then we're going to bring the lenders in as kind of another phase of it. So the same with, I mean, they're kind of part of that refi phase that I was talking about earlier too. But everything will be looped into that. All the documents, you'll have a document cloud where everything goes. So it's nice. It's something everybody can get to at all times. So 5 years later, when you go to sell your home again, or maybe you bought a home and you want to refi it 5 years later, you need that survey. They can just log in and go grab their survey real quick.
Exactly. And then, are you guys doing anything social media related or anything on that front?
We did a little social media stuff. We got a campaign that we're going to be launching here pretty soon. That'll be all social media.
Okay. And so are you partnering with agents to have them, referring you guys out with their clients, or how are you guys going about growing your business?
Growing business. I think it at first kind of the path we're going to go is we're going to focus on FSBOs
Okay.
and then kind of branch out from there and then start focusing on agents. So that's at least the business strategy.
So when you focus on FSBOs, are you helping the for sale by owner seller facilitate the sale, or are you just are supporting them in the traditional sense of the title company?
Just the traditional sense of the title company.
Okay.
So it's just how you would normally have it. It's just kind of more information and more tools. So we're just trying to provide tools to get the deal completed and get it done easier for everybody.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I think this is great. I think it really gives people a good option if they're wanting to explore, especially if you're a brokerage or you're a team that's looking to explore some different options, because the good and the bad, I feel like with real estate is it's kind of like the wild, wild west. Like you can make it what you want. And so we're not bound. I mean, besides just compliance with your broker or with Trek, as long as we hit those marks, we can kind of do whatever we want with our business, which I think is really cool.
Sure.
So if you are progressive and proactive like you are, it sounds like you're really going to make a way for yourself in real estate, which is awesome because this is going to be as technology advances. I mean, I've been doing virtual listing appointments since February and my clients are loving it. So even after COVID, it's like, we may still do, I mean, I'm happy to go meet with them in their home, but so many of them just want to do a call like this and we talk about everything and they show me their house. It's just not a big deal because more and more people are getting comfortable with the technology. So I think any barrier that you guys are taking away and being able to replace it with some technology is going to be really popular for people. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah. I think this whole COVID thing, it helped us out because it did help people get more comfortable with it, like you're saying. So it's, I guess it's a silver lining. So.
Right. I've got one lender that can do like a virtual closing, but everyone else is like, yeah, they still need to drive to the parking lot and show their stuff and roll down their window. I'm like, really? We're still doing this? Why can't we do DocuSign? And I don't know, maybe one of these days the computer, you can do like your thumbprint on the trackpad or something and that be our, identification or something like that. But cool. There's 5 questions that I ask every guest that's on the show. So let's roll through that real quick and then we'll share your social media links if people want to get connected with you. So what's one thing that most people don't know about you?
One thing most people don't know about me. I've actually been to Iraq actually. So
oh, wow.
I was a prison guard over there for Saddam's regime. So I knew all of Saddam's brothers, cousins, knew all those guys. Tarek Aziz, the prime minister, I knew him. I actually played chess with Chemical Ali.
Wait, hang on. You broke up. You played chess with who? Your
Chemical Ali.
Wow. Okay, so are you born over there or?
No, I wasn't born over there. No, I was in the army and I was a prison guard for the Ba'ath Party over there.
Wow. So was it scary?
It was a little bit just going over there initially, but you kind of get used to it. There was a lot of, we went over there initially during Ramadan and there was a lot of small arms fire and there was mortar attacks and stuff like that. But I mean, you kind of get desensitized to it after a while, actually. So,
okay, this may sound like a dumb question, so apologies. Were you working for them or were you in the American Army? You're in the American Army. Okay, I just want to make sure. I'm like, wait a second.
The American.
Okay. All right. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice that I've ever received. I feel like I've received a lot. The good advice. I don't know. Don't let your ego get in the way of decisions. I think it's a fantastic piece of advice.
There you go. And what's the best piece of advice you want to give the audience today?
I think when anybody's starting something, a company or so on and so forth, I think with anything, you need a plan going into it. And then it needs to be written down and you need to continue that in whatever company you're starting as far as policies, just to make things flow smoother and structure things. And I wish somebody would have told me that years ago, but it's something I've learned along the way. But it just, what that does for you and your company as far as making it more profitable, save you money. People can come in and just kind of go into positions so much more naturally.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good piece of advice for people to follow.
I love it. Plus, it gets eventually when you get to the point where you want to get out of certain weeds, you're able to give them the standard operating procedures or give them the structure versus you're thinking nobody else can do it because it's all in my head.
Right. No, and that's the wrong way to think about it is that it's all in your head. Or, I've seen people, they want to be protective of their, personal intellectual property.
Sure.
And that's just a terrible approach when it comes to operating a company. Yep. And so, what that does is it's amazing what you can do with that. You always have something to go back and reference. Right. It's a good piece of advice.
Awesome. Love it. What's your favorite book or the one that's had the greatest impact on you?
The Razor's Edge.
Who's that by? I haven't read that.
What's the guy's name? It's a famous author. I just can't.
That's okay. I don't want to put you on the spot. I was just curious. What's it about?
Yeah, no, I got you. It's about it's a great book about a guy in World War I who gets called off, and he's a pilot, and he comes back. He's got a girlfriend he's going to marry when he gets back. He's got a great job in the stock market he's going to go back to, and he gets back, and his whole worldview has changed because of his experiences in the Army. So he decides to kind of go on a walkabout and kind of try to figure out the meaning of life. It's a wonderful book. Bill Murray, I'm assuming he loved the book so much that part of his contract back in the 80s, he forced Warner Brothers to try to make a movie of it. And it wasn't a very good movie. It didn't translate very well. But there is a movie out there, Bill Murray movie about the Razor's Edge.
Interesting. Okay, cool. I'll have to check that out. What's your current morning routine?
Been doing inversion therapy.
Like on an inversion table?
Yeah, inversion table. I think it's great. It's a great way to start your morning. So it's like, I want to say, I don't know, as you get older, you just get back pain.
Oh, dude, I know. I literally was in the garage last night doing my fascia blaster. My husband's like, what are you doing? I'm like, my muscles are so tight right now.
Yeah, sure. So this is the only thing that has ever worked for me. It's just a natural therapy that works really well. And it's not only that, but it's an awesome way to wake up because you're tired. You just get on the inversion table. Yep. You're there for 5 minutes or so. You get up off of it. I mean, it's like you've had, a cup of coffee or two already and you're ready to go and start the day.
So do you, we have one in our garage that we have folded up and then we'll get out every now and then. Do you go all the way head down and then vertical, or are you kind of
Oh, I go completely vertical, like I'm hanging there.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Because that's great for your blood circulation, because if you force your feet up for, I think, 5 minutes, it forces your blood to totally recirculate, versus sometimes it gets kind of stuck in certain extremities, right? So it helps oxygenate everything, I think, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, that's my understanding of it. And, also, I mean, you can I guess the way it was explained to me, at least, is all those vertebrae in your spine are just kind of
compressed,
stretched out. Yeah, and they're compressed if you don't do it. So it kind of frees them up to get all the good juices and stuff in there, and just stuff that you wouldn't otherwise get in there gets in there.
Right.
And so it just helps you out. You just feel so much better throughout the day.
I'll have to try that. Maybe at night I'll get it out so that in the morning that's the first thing I go do. Because we love it. When you get off of it, you feel like 5 pounds lighter because you don't have all the compression in your lower back.
Exactly. So, and that's, as soon as I hop out of bed, I go do that.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. I'll have to try that. Last question is, how do you unplug and unwind?
I watch architecture videos on YouTube. So I love old, I guess mid-century modern stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'll look up stuff like that and start reading architect info and stuff like that. So not that I'm an architect.
To build? Like to build?
No, just kind of watching videos about these old architects and stuff like that, and reading about them, stuff like that.
So you're officially a real estate nerd. You know that, right?
Yeah, I am.
That's easy with you.
You should see my spreadsheets. They're ridiculous.
Oh, I love spreadsheets. Okay, cool. So let's nerd out. Okay, so if people want to get in touch with you, whether they want to work with you, find out more information about your programs, whether maybe we have a for sale by owner seller listening or an agent listening that wants to get connected, what's the best way for them to find you?
Okay, so websites, if you want to check us out, you can see our website, www.rifttitle.com.
Okay.
And our phone number is 888-515-7438. If it also, our main email is info@rifttitle.com.
Perfect. And then this area, I know you and I talked about it already on the pre-show, but where do you service if someone's thinking, oh, maybe I'm in Frisco and that's not close to them? Like, where do you guys service as far as your area goes?
Well, sure. We do, because of how we operate, we do all over Texas. So we can always be the title company that's near somebody. We're the title company that's in Fort Worth. We're the title company that's in Dallas. We're the title company that's in Houston. We're the title company that's in San Antonio.
Awesome.
So all those areas we can service, because we don't, as far as having a physical office, we really don't have one. So it's just all done virtually.
Cool.
So, and also to touch on one other thing, our escrow fees are actually a lot cheaper because we can afford to have them be cheaper because we don't have a physical office that we have to pay for.
I was going to ask you about fees earlier, but since we didn't talk about it in the pre-show, I was afraid to put you on the spot in case it wasn't favorable. So I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, cool. So so normally when I talk to my sellers, I'll say, hey, as a seller, generally speaking, you're going to pay about 1% for title insurance.
Sure.
And then title fees are generally somewhere between $500 to $1,000. So I'll usually estimate $750. Does that sound about right? Or are you guys like, no, we charge a lot less?
Yeah. Okay. So the actual insurance is regulated by TDI.
Exactly.
That is what it is. We can't control that part of it. What we can control is, the settlement and escrow fees. Our settlement and escrow fees are $200 per side.
Okay.
So, buyer side $200, seller side $200, and like you said, it's much higher usually for most title companies.
Okay. Cool. No, that's awesome. All right. Well, we appreciate you being on the show today. I'm glad we got to connect, and I will put all of your social links and phone number in the show notes so that everyone can get in touch with you. And then, are you on any social media if they want to find you on Facebook or LinkedIn or anything?
Yeah, we are. You can look up our Rift Title page on Facebook or Instagram. Those have been our most popular pages. We do have Twitter, and that's about it.
Awesome. No, it's like overwhelming. Are you not on TikTok doing dance videos? Come on.
No, not yet. That's on its way, though.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, we appreciate your time today. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Absolutely. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this interview with Jerod, and maybe it gave you some ideas on how you can progress your business, get a little bit more technologically savvy, maybe create a different experience for your customers. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you haven't already, go ahead and tell us what you loved about the show today. You can go to iTunes, send in an online review. We would love a 5-star rating, and let us know what you're loving about the show. If you have any guests you want to bring on, if you want to nominate yourself, or any topics you're curious about, we would love to hear it all. So go do that. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.